What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another news video. And as always, there's plenty of news going on in both WWE and AEW, so let's look at the top headlines for today. New details have emerged on AEW's missing title, and it seems like it wasn't stolen after all. A championship match has been announced for AEW Full Gear, WWE going back to the old formula for Raw, an Impact wrestler returns to WWE for another tryout, WWE know they botched a big storyline, and daddy and daughter backstage heat. Let's start off with the first story today, as more details emerge on AEW's missing title, and it seems it wasn't stolen. Yesterday, it was revealed that the AEW title has been found, but strangely enough, it was found on the side of the road with someone turning it in. But in an interview with the Tallahassee Democrat, the person who found the belt, Frank Price, spoke on how he discovered the title, which was in a velvet bag in the middle of a turn lane. They mentioned, as they pulled into town on Highway 20, Price spotted what appeared to be a velvet bag in the middle of a turn lane near Capitol Circle Southwest. The bag was scuffed up and contained something heavy, but the Prices didn't take a peek until they got home. When he finally opened the bag, he couldn't believe his eyes. I think I said something like, "Whoa, it's a huge wrestling belt, check this thing out." I never would have guessed that if I had a lifetime of guesses. His wife googled a gold and leather garment, and it seemed to match the championship belt for All Elite Wrestling. There were knockoffs for sale on eBay, and the Prices never dreamed it was the real deal. At the time, there was nothing in the news about anything being lost or stolen, said Price, Assistant Director of the Florida Natural Areas Inventory at Florida State University. So we thought it was just a replica or a costume or something like that. Frank Price also coincidentally bumped into Mike Vaughn, the owner of Mike's Limousine Service, which escorted Jericho to Longhorn Steakhouse. He continued, later that day, the Tallahassee Police Department investigators called and they said they needed to take Price's sworn statement. They were slightly suspicious about the reward and wondered whether Price had called Vaughn to arrange for their meeting at Tallahassee Police Department and the reward. Price assured him the meeting was purely coincidental and the reward was unplanned. Price has texts and emails, receipts, witnesses, and GPS data on his cell phone to back up his story and prove he was nowhere near Millionaire or Longhorn Steakhouse when the belt went missing. Police haven't said he's under investigation, but he said he wouldn't be surprised if he were. I was joking that there would be investigators following me around. I figured the best approach is to just tell the truth and have fun with the whole thing. Price, who doesn't follow professional wrestling, doesn't know how the belt ended up in the road. He doubts, however, that it was actually stolen. I think what happened is that they just set it on the trunk of the limo and it just fell off, he said. The only other possibility is that it was part of a pro wrestling plot setup. They need all the publicity they can get. We're with Price on this one, as if it was actually stolen, it would seem odd just to ditch it on the side of the road. We believe Jericho just had a bit too much of the bubbly, left the title on the trunk of the car where the limo driver couldn't see it. He eventually drove off with the title still on the back wall or on the roof, and of course since the title was heavy, only with enough speed on the highway did it manage to fall off. So I guess it really is case closed. But whilst we're on the topic of All Elite Wrestling, they've made a huge announcement regarding their upcoming pay-per-view in November, Full Gear, as AEW World Champion Chris Jericho will be going up against the now #1 contender Cody. AEW President and CEO Tony Khan explained on Twitter that Cody's outstanding record in singles competition has secured him the #1 contender ranking, and he will be challenging AEW World Champion Chris Jericho in the first ever pay-per-view defense of the championship on November 9th in Baltimore at Full Gear. So it seems that AEW is proving that wins and losses do count in the promotion, and not every #1 contender will be decided in a quick battle royal. However, with AEW's weekly television show coming up soon, rather than just casually announcing a huge match on Twitter, wouldn't it have been smarter to build up the hype of the match on the show, announcing it much later on? We just think that would have been a better way. Currently, Full Gear has one other match confirmed, and it's between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, a meet that was supposed to occur at All Out. We're not done with AEW news though just yet, as All Out pay-per-view buys are down from Double or Nothing. According to the Wrestling Observer, AEW's All Out pay-per-view drew around 28,000 buys on standard television pay-per-view in the US, which we might add doesn't include BR Live numbers. This number was 20% less than Double or Nothing, which brought in 35,000 buys after the event ended. Including the BR Live numbers, it brought it up to 100,000 buys, but this would still be down from Double or Nothing's 111,000 buys. For both television pay-per-view and BR Live viewings, an estimated 46% of fans ordering All Out had ordered Double or Nothing, which means an estimated 54% did not order the event. Now, regardless of the buys being slightly down, these are still decent enough numbers to pull in for a new promotion. We wonder what the numbers will be like for Full Gear. Next up, some WWE news, as WWE is going back to an old formula for Raw. Now, promos in today's WWE just aren't what they used to be, as during the peak of wrestling, wrestlers like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin or D-Generation X would go out and cut a promo on their opponent with just merely a few bullet points on what to talk about. Now wrestlers have to memorize long promos word for word, and heaven forbid if they deviate slightly from the script. However, that wasn't the case on this week's Raw, as a few select wrestlers have been given enough trust to cut their own style of promos, similar to the old school style of just following some bullet points. The Observer reported, Bayley, Banks and Mysterio's promos on Raw were all done without being scripted word for word, basically the old bullet point style and going for it. Whilst they're taking a more laxed approach with some superstars on Raw, that's certainly not the case on NXT, where Dave Meltzer reported the show will be now heavily scripted. Hopefully they're not just turning NXT into another Raw and SmackDown each week. Being heavily scripted, we can't help but feel that Vince McMahon really does have some input into it, regardless of what Triple H mentioned a few days ago. Next up, an Impact wrestler returns to WWE for another try. Now you might recall former Impact Knockout star Scarlett Bordeaux appearing as a Rosebud for Adam Rose in WWE all the way back in 2014 and wrestled her first and only WWE match in December 2016 against Nia Jax in a quick squash match. It was a tryout match and WWE didn't sign her. However, after honing her skills and character in Impact, she's decided to give it another try with the promotion as she was seen at the Performance Center in Orlando. There is however no word on how her tryout went or whether WWE has offered to sign her. Next up, WWE know they botched a big storyline. WWE could have potentially had one of the best storylines of the year involving the mystery attacker of Roman Reigns on SmackDown. Over the last few weeks, Reigns was almost flattened by some stage equipment and mowed into a side by another car. Fans initially suspected Buddy Murphy was the man behind the attacks, and since he was seen in the backstage footage, WWE decided to add him into the storyline. For the first few weeks, they created a lot of intrigue. However, they messed it up big time when they introduced Eric Rowan's twin and the reveal, which happened on this week's edition of SmackDown, as it just felt flat and uninteresting when it really turned out to be Eric Rowan. Blame for the weak storytelling has been put on the writers, of course, thus WWE has effectively made a big shake-up backstage with the creative team. Ryan Ward, who was head writer for SmackDown, is on leave and has been replaced by Ed Koskey, a man who has been with the WWE for 18 years as a lead writer on Raw and will be working closely with Eric Bischoff. WWE knows there is currently a lack of direction on the Blue brand, and the Wrap reports that Bischoff and the current creative team have come under scrutiny for their handling of the Reigns attacker storyline. The Observer also mentioned, according to the WWE Insider, the storyline was botched so bad that explaining to anyone what it was supposed to be wouldn't make any sense at all. Hopefully they'll get things in order before its big move to Fox. However, one thing everybody seems to omit from the problem, besides blaming Eric Bischoff and the team of writers, is Vince McMahon's constant changes and rewrites of the script. How is anything supposed to gel together if Vince keeps rewriting the script at the last minute? This really needs to stop before the debut episode. And our last story of today is heat between daddy and daughter. Yesterday we reported on the story that 16-time world champion Ric Flair could threaten to sue WWE if they don't pay him what he's owed in regards to using the moniker The Man, something he trademarked on 26 August, and WWE reportedly blew him off when it came down to an agreement to use it for Becky Lynch. Now the threat of legal action has not only affected Flair's relationship with WWE, it may have also affected his relationship with his daughter Charlotte Flair, as wrestling's public enemy #1 Brad Shepard recently tweeted, According to a source in WWE, the company is trying to work out a deal with Ric Flair over the man situation. I'm told there are no hard feelings yet, but some people believe it could get a little nasty because they view Flair as stubborn. A second source said anyone who's been around Rick isn't surprised by this. They talked about how good the company has been to him and said in spite of that, he'll turn on you in a heartbeat over a few bucks and play the victim. The heat Charlotte has with him over this is legit. But what do you guys think of the situation? Should Charlotte be supporting her father, or should Rick just let it go? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.